College of Computing Women in Tech virtual panel event. We are excited to have you here. We have wonderful panelists to discuss a variety of topics about women in tech and their experiences as women in general, and particularly as women of color in this space. And so my name is Erica Burt. I'm the Director of Professional Academic Programs for the College of Computing. And many of you have already received an email from me. If you have any questions at the end, you want to know more about Illinois Tech, our programs, data science, information technology management, computer science, and all of the wonderful master's degree programs and undergraduate programs we have, feel free to reach out to me. But without further ado, I would like to introduce our moderator for today, Kim Brown.
Thank you so much. We're so excited to have you all here. Welcome. I know that you signed up and you saw who we all are, so we just want to jump in and get right to it. What I'm going to do is have each panelist go through and just introduce themselves and give a brief background about their role and their journey in tech. So we have a lot of questions for today, so we will jump right in. We will go alphabetically. So Angela, if you would like to go first.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Angela Reed. I am currently the project release manager at Feeding America. My background, it is extensive in regards to technology. I started off with database management, database administration, and then I progressed into data quality management, systems management, administration, and training on multiple platforms, then progressed to system implementation, and now I am in the technology project management arena. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for being here. And Vatui, would you like to go next?
Sure. Hello, everyone. I am so happy to be here. I started off with, I was lucky and fortunate enough to work for one of those big Firm 5 consulting company called Accenture. And I have been in every single leading high profile across the technology discipline. So that includes software, database, infrastructure, network architect across the Fortune 500 companies. So with that, I also took a career break. So with going into the high profile, trying to leave a lucrative business behind, I ended up taking a career break to raise a family. And it was really hard, I have to say, coming back from a 6-year hiatus to get back into technology again, but I've made it. And the last few jobs that I've been in was in AI. So I was working back again to the leading edge technology with AI, with IoT, unstructured data, bringing back to, again, working with Fortune 500 company and behavioral science.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here. And Visa, how about you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm super glad to be here and be a part of the amazing panelists that are here. So I'm Fiza Arif. I'm actually the least experienced person here because I'm still a current student here at Illinois Tech. I'm completing my bachelor's in IT management and my master's in data analytics. I'm actually also the co-founder of 2 tech-based student organizations here on campus, called ITM Organization and Women in Cybersecurity. So for any of my students, if you're interested, please feel free to reach out to me about that. And I am also graduating this semester, so super, super excited about that. And after graduation, I will be moving to San Francisco, California, where I will be working as an IT product analyst at Atlassian.
Amazing. Thank you, Fiza. And last but not least, Sandra, would you like to introduce yourself for the group?
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Sandra LaPlante. I am the CEO and founder of an education technology platform called Papaya. And my background in tech started when I chose to be an engineer in school. Then I chose to switch from mechanical to industrial when I learned about Accenture, a tech company. And I know that one of the panelists just mentioned Accenture. So in Accenture, I started doing technology, and then I switched to strategy within technology still. So I did everything from cloud migration, software implementation, quality, and now I do tech. I have a tech company, so that is my background. Thank you.
Fabulous. Well, we're so excited to have everyone here. We've got such an amazing background of individuals. I'm going to try and do as little talking as possible so you get to enjoy all these incredible perspectives. So Angela, I'm going to hand it to you. What made you decide to pursue a career in technology, and who were your influences?
Well, I've known since I was young that I was going to be in technology. When I was a young girl, I loved to soak up knowledge, whether it was reading, learning music, or even studying the Bible. So my brain just loved to stay busy. So in my sophomore year of high school, I took a computer workshop class, and that was the beginning of my passion for computers because I loved the mental challenge that it gave me. Then I had computer science as my major in my junior and senior years. And I smile when I think back on those times because I still remember the feeling of joy and accomplishment that I would receive when I got my program to run, which outweighed the frustrations that I encountered as I was trying to work towards completing the assignment. Then I also enjoyed how it gave me a chance to customize my own output just with a few lines of code. And I enjoyed the camaraderie that my classmates and I experienced as we worked together to help each other solve our errors to be able to make the deadline for the assignment. So I think it's then that I was home in regards to what type of job I wanted to have or what I wanted to do. In regards to my influencers, my first influencers were my parents. My father started a business and when I was very young, and that he initially ran out of the home, so I was a little girl seeing my dad and mom typing invoices, hearing them answer the phone in a business manner, or working with other type of business materials. So as I got older, I would come in from grammar school answering the phone, taking messages for the business, sometimes even helping with the typing that needed to be done for his customers the next day. So my father would sometimes take me on those jobs, and that's where I learned about customer service, taking pride in your work, as well as communicating and building relationships with individuals of all ages and backgrounds. In regards to influencers in high school, that started with the teacher who suggested that I take the computer workshop class because that's what initially piqued my interest and excitement. But my biggest influencer was Mrs. Hudson, my computer science teacher. She was a Black woman who was so smart, and she worked in the technology field for several years before becoming a teacher. So you could tell she enjoyed computing and often encouraged us to have creativity with our assignments. She was a great teacher, and I've thought of her often throughout my educational journey because what would hit me is that she was the only Black female technology teacher I had from high school through grad school. And so it kind of stuck with me as I constantly went because I'm like, wow, there's no one else like me who looked like me. And then as I journey throughout my career, I've been very blessed to encounter those who saw my passion for data, problem solving, learning, and they became sources of great encouragement and mentorship, which was greatly appreciated because the majority of my career, I've either been the only woman of color in an organization or the only woman involved in the technologies of the organization.
Thank you so much, Angela. Those are really powerful stories. And I actually want to, jump off of what you were talking about in your career journey. And for Batui, how have you seen, or how do you think the industry has changed since you joined? Angela talked a lot about her journey through grade school all the way to her, advanced career. How have you seen it change over time?
You know what? I don't even know where to begin because I started out with, believe it or not, punch cards, IBM machines, and assembly language. And because I did work in every single area of technology discipline there is, I can go on and on. But what I like to do instead, because we can always Google it and then we can see the history itself, what I like to do is what I would call connect the dots, right? Because where the technology has changed is that when I first started out, it was easy for me to climb up through the rank, become a technical architect, meaning that I had to know every single area of technology, but I would be able to do it because back then for technology, you had to be a Fortune 500 company in order to afford that type of funding and therefore innovations and being able to build a product. Nowadays, if you think about it, it is a lot faster, easier, and more available to everyone. And because of that, the solutions are out there. And you have to break out into like the network architect, solution architect, software, it's like every single kind so there's a lot of different varieties as well as sophistications. So all of us have to be, so for those out there who are building a new product or technology, make sure that you are always, on your toes, because there's always going to be a competitor. There's always going to be a solution out there. As a person who's a consumer, if there isn't a solution now, just wait 6 months. There would be one that's coming out. So that's one area of technology. The second part is that because the processing is faster, the data is a lot more readily available. IoT is everywhere. So we're getting faster, bigger, and it's getting to be ubiquitous to the point where we are reaching the customers faster and broader and at a much more younger age too. Because how many toddlers do you see out there who can use iPad better than you even, or even your parents, right? So it's got to, for better for worse, it's influencing people at a much younger age. So we have to start at a younger age in terms of like, how are we impacting the younger generation? So that is also a very important question for society in general. So the internet, to me, AI and the technology is leading us just like the internet, how to impact all of society. And last but not least, I remember there was a point in time where every single company, the only thing they know about me is what I put in my application. I know what they know, right? And so that wasn't a big deal. If I lost and forget my password or somebody broke into my account, it's my fault because I probably did something. However, now because of social media platform, data is everywhere, they're gathering all over the place. You can't walk across the street without a video camera on you. And because of that, you don't know how the data is being used, where it's coming from, or anything like that at all. Hence, the rise of security becomes a huge, big issue. From a privacy security point of view, from a hacking point of view, not just as the developers who are trying to build these products and navigate through the government who's trying to protect the consumer. How many IT people out there who are so frustrated that they cannot build this product because, oh my God, because of legal and rules and regulation? Well, guess what? You don't want to, just because you can doesn't mean you should, because if you figure out a way around it, you also figure a way around yourself, because the law is there to protect yourself. And data become a privacy concern. So as a consumer, I now need to figure out how much data I need to give versus how much I want to be able to customize to me. It's like, which one should I have it, right? Security or not. So that is the three areas I think that really impacts technology a lot.
Thank you so much. You covered a lot. Oh, go ahead, Sandra. Do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I just want to, because around data, now we also have something new coming our way, which is Web3, that's moving so fast. And with that, that's going to be able to protect our data, because you connect your wallet instead of connecting through Google or Facebook. So that's also something that's coming fast, and it's moving so fast, and people don't know how technology is just, it keeps moving. I feel like you think that the internet started like about 20 years ago, and look at where we are now, So just wanted to add that.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, and Sandra, I'll keep this on you, but we're talking about how quickly technology has changed over the last 20, 25 years. I want to talk about diversity and how that's changed. So Sandra, this question's for you. Given the focus on diverse practices in the tech space, do you think women still face significant challenges related to their advancement, or have you seen that change at all?
Yes, I think that what changed, the diversity that I've seen is that, to answer your last question, are women, do they need more support, or are we being represented the right way? I would say no, right? Because there's not enough women in tech. And I know that we're trying to change that narrative, but when it comes to Latinas in STEM, you have 2% of all STEM, which is crazy, right? So I think that representation matters, but it's hard. It's hard to have, I get it, because I do it too, being a founder of my own company. I don't see a lot of women working, for me, and that's like, wow, then it sunk in me. I have to be intentional about hiring more women. I have to look for women. I have to say, please prefer me the next one, the next person to be a woman and not a man, because I see that that will create a stronger, way uh, of our team living in diversity and inclusion, right? But I get it, it's hard. And I get that sometimes we're trying to just like survive our week. And now we have to, be intentional about having more women in tech. And I think that there are a lot of initiatives. I just wish that we connected the dots on the initiatives, because right now it's a very fragmented way to do it. I feel like there are a lot of companies that are trying to hire more women, but I feel like they need us to what Kim said before, like we have to be intentional and have to go early on in their careers, maybe introduce them to STEM in elementary school or middle school, because by the time they're in high school, they have already made up their mind and they already felt that they don't belong. So I think we also have to be a little more intentional on when we start introducing women to STEM and tech.
Absolutely. Well, and just a quick reminder, so I'm going to put everyone on mute just so we don't have any background noise, and then Betui, I'll let you jump in. Okay, go ahead. You have to unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm going to tie this back to like talking about influencer, like aside from teachers and parents and everything, that I had to say my peers. And that includes ever since from high school all the way through college, and then of course my colleagues. And one of the biggest influencers are the boys. They're the one who jokingly always say, it's like, girls can't do math. And I say, what do you mean we can't do math, right? So I remember this guy and I, we used to try to outbeat each other. And then later on in high school, I was joining the Engineering Technical Society, same thing too as well. It's like always tried to outbeat each other. They voted me president because obviously I'm loud and obnoxious enough about like what it is that we're trying to build. And so what I'm trying to say here is that I would like to, to kind of piggyback off of what Sandra said, is that start early. And I think more importantly for us women is attitude. We have to walk into a room without the thinking that we're that we're the victim, right? We're there because we know we're good and we belong. If you have that attitude, then your subconsciously, your posture, your voice, your tone, and your attitude is going to be very different from if you feel like you're not going to be listened to, you're not going to be, welcome or anything like that at all. And one of the examples of that is that change the narrative. Yes, as an engineer in college, I remember talking to a bunch of junior graduate students about like how the number of graduates who are engineers are like double digits, very small, but a number of women engineers are even single digit, even small. I wish I remember the statistics. But instead of thinking like, oh my gosh, women are not in engineering technology, woe is us, we need to get more women, which is true. However, on the other hand, think of it this way, congratulations, you all have made it. And not only have you made it, you are now very, very desirable. You are the unicorn, right? How many women engineers are there out there? So go for it, right? So that is what I mean by change the narrative, because you have to think that way.
I love that. And, we were talking a lot about starting off younger, but you brought up the good point about the people that are today. So Fiz, I want to have you jump into this conversation. We're kind of skirting around the subject of imposter syndrome, and you're kind of in the early stages of your career journey. Have you ever struggled or seen someone else struggle with imposter syndrome, and how do you manage that, to exactly what Betui was talking about?
Yes, definitely. To answer the question, yes, I have. And I think everyone in their life in one point or the other do suffer from imposter syndrome. And I think just personally, how I deal with it is in two different ways. One would be as just a spiritual and a religious person. I think I try to make a connection with God in a way where I try to make sure that, hey, if this opportunity came my way and I availed it, it's because I deserved it and not because I'm an imposter. And that belief really helps. And the second way would be, and I recommend everyone to do this, is just having a good and amazing support system. Your support system does not have to be super large. It can be a very small group of friends. It's actually better if they're from the same industry as you, because they're able to understand what you're going through. Personally, I have two really great, amazing friends who who are the same age as me or the same industry as me. They're females. They're also on this call right now. Hi. So whenever I feel like an imposter, I just reach out to them, send them a text, give them a call. And the amount of support that I receive and the amount of motivation I receive from them is just amazing. And it really helps me believe that if these strong, amazing women think that I can do it and I deserve it, then there's a really high chance that I do deserve it and I can do it. And that really helps change that perspective. And overall, that communication and that support really helps you keep going, and that really helps you want to do better, because I want to make them proud as well, that hey, they believe in me, I can do it, and I will make them proud for believing in me in the first place. So yeah, that's how I kind of deal with imposter syndrome.
Turn myself off mute. One thing that was brought up was the fact that we do have a really mixed group on this call of attendees, and we have men that are supporting. And so I would like to just take what you said and say that's probably a good opportunity when men are wondering, how do I lean in? How do I be more engaged? To be those cheerleaders and those individuals encouraging as well. Would you agree with that?
I totally agree. I think it's actually great when we have different people and different types of people coming in together to help out. Just someone from, I would say even someone from like a different culture than me, like that just brings so much positivity to you that, hey, this person believes in me and I should maybe try a little bit harder. I can do this. So just men, women, people from different, cultures, religions. I think everyone just kind of giving that support to each other whenever they can. That just really helps. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. Angela, I want to hand this next question back to you. The reality is that biases still exist. And so from your perspective, how do you combat bias, or how do you think we should combat bias in the tech industry as a woman of color?
It's kind of funny. I think about the various phases and challenges that I've been through throughout my career. As I mentioned many times, being the only woman of color in an organization, or the only female technology staff member, or even being the only woman of color at a technology conference. And I used to notice the way that people, which was many times men, would ask me, why are you at the conference? Where do you work? What do you do? Almost as if I was being drilled, because they didn't believe or wondering, why are you here? And so then I would be told that I was so articulate, which with actual surprise in their voice. And that is not a complimentary phrase to a woman, let alone a woman of color. So as time went on, I worked on finding my confidence within myself and recognizing my own value, regardless of whether others saw me or not. And I feel that that confidence that I gained helped garner that respect. For those who it didn't, then that confidence gave me a peace inside, which was large. It allowed me to be comfortable with using my own voice, speaking up when there were injustices, not just against myself, but also others. And then I also came to understand that even though change may not have occurred by me speaking up, I used my power to bring awareness instead of me just sitting back and spinning in the sting of the occurrence that happened. So now I'm in a place of where my focus is on mentoring others. I collaborate with nonprofits, Tech Hive being one of the ones that I have a huge role with. I have a bigger involvement in civic management. There are many females of color in our younger generations who are not aware of the various opportunities that are out there in the tech industry. I want to help them recognize that they are smarter and more powerful than they can even imagine, and that it is okay to be different than any others around you in your group. Or if you're in a room and you're the only person in technology, it's okay. You can feel comfortable with that. For those who are involved in tech, I encourage them to proudly use their voice and know that they deserve to speak up, to be a contributor in those critical decision making conversations. Help them remember that regardless of how others try to minimize and dim their light, they need to stay focused and let that be their motivation to keep going on, instead of letting it lend them to doubting themselves and losing their voice, which it definitely can do. My generation did not have this type of mentorship, and we did not have community of encouragement and engagement. I am very fortunate, as the previous women were speaking on, that my circle, as I gained and went throughout my technology career, was filled with males who were champions and mentors and also allies for me. And that was great. So now it is my responsibility to give back and help empower our younger generations. That strength that they have will then help them to continue to break down barriers and discourage the biases that are still so prevalent in our world today.
That's so beautiful, Angela. Thank you so much for sharing that. And it's interesting because as I look at this group of women, you know, you all are doing the work, right? You're working on yourselves, you're working on building others up. But Tui, I want to ask you this question. Do you think there's enough being done overall to support women in tech? Or if not, what do you recommend to continue that so the burden doesn't fall on a select few shoulders?
You know, the positive news is that it is now open, right? There's a higher level of awareness that there is a problem and an issue that we should all face. And so that's the good news. And there's a lot of programs that I've seen over the years that is getting more, much more wider, broader across the board. So that is the good news. Where I think that we can actually do better in, and I'll try to limit you to. One of them is the unconscious bias, because to answer what Angela said earlier, bias, right? But it's the unconscious bias that gets you. And it's not just with men, but it's also with us women too. So here I'll use an example, and this is not a problem with just us women. It's a diversity issue. It's a cultural issue, but I think it's more especially for women too as well. It's like, for an example, if you're in a room with a lot of men and there's a very few women, and you see a woman who's quiet, you can assume maybe she's shy, or she doesn't, or she's afraid, or you have all these negative adjectives because she's quiet. But what is to say that, no, I don't have any issue. I'm not quiet because I'm shy. I just don't have anything to say. Or maybe I am just doing thinking, I'm processing, right? I'm doing like I'm listening, I'm doing active listening and all that. And when I have something to say, it will be powerful, because there is actually a research out there that say that people, perception-wise, is that the less you talk, the more intelligent they think you are. So the more you talk, the less intelligent they think you are. And so less is more. So there are people out there, it's like, so maybe the woman is quiet just because she's not shy, or she doesn't have anything to say, or she's stupid. She's just have, let everybody speak, listen. And when she has something to say, it would be powerful. So I'm just using it as one example of unconscious bias. The second part is sponsorship. We talk a lot about mentorship, but I have to be honest, it wasn't until I was at Allstate that I discovered this wonderful word called sponsorship. I didn't even know. I mean, I heard the word sponsorship before, but I always somehow equate mentorship with sponsorship. I didn't realize there were two very different things. And a lot more men know about sponsorship. That sponsorship a lot younger in their career, right? And us women need to get into it. And there need to be more opportunity for sponsorship. And what the difference between mentorship and sponsorship is somebody who is actively trying to build up their career. Whether they're still in the company or outside the company, they're your advocate. They're the one who speak up for you. They're the one who try to promote you. That is a big difference between sponsorship and mentorship. There's others too, but that is a key thing. So all of you out there who do not realize about that, you need to understand sponsorship, ask for it. We need to build more sponsorship program for women in general. I said two, but let me add in one more. It's great that everybody talk about trying to build up women and trying to build diversity and everything, but until that your salary and your achievement and your promotion is tied to your performance and how you promote that, it's going to be a lot of them, it's going to be lip service. I'm sorry to say they feel great and everything, but I need to deliver this. I need to do this. There's always going to be something that is a higher priority. So I think that if there's a way that we can somehow tie it, and for us women, how do we help the next generation of women up the ladder, right? Or how do we promote the minority up? And for the men, how do we get that woman that we think is a key talent person and sponsor that person up? And if that ties to your performance, I think that would be a huge step.
You've uncovered a lot of, I would say like thick topics in that. So I love it. And I love that this is recorded. So I hope everyone goes back to this and really starts taking that to, whether it's in education or in business, how we tie performance and key performance indicators really does drive that motivation. When we're talking about building people up, Sandra, I want to toss this to you. Do you think, and this ties into a lot of what Batoya was saying, do you think that women in tech conferences and events should continue to be supported as driving that mentorship and sponsorship? Or do you think they actually have started to lead to segregation?
Let me just ask a clarifying question. Why would, or why segregation? Like how come,
Like, do you think
how did you come up with that question?
Yeah, so if you think about how groups are coming together, and if it's a women's only women in tech conference, does that support women, or does that actually become more exclusionary and saying, well, now we're actually keeping out potential male sponsorships because we're actually just focusing on women in tech as specific circles coming together? How do you balance that?
Okay, I hope that there is no like real issues about like segregating men, because we're a minority, so we're the ones that need the help when it comes to tech. And I think it's key to have spaces for women to talk about this. I think I know we talked about biases, but biases are real. And we all have unconscious biases. That's not going to go away unless we have machine learning do the hiring and the performances. There are biases. So we need a spaces for women to network, to know each other, because guess what? What happens usually in a role in a tech company is that men are going to sponsor more men naturally because they get along better. They can talk about basketball. They can talk about things, right? And you develop a liking. It's true. It's not like you're just being like, oh, let me help this person because, they check all the boxes and I'm supposed to help them. No, there is affinity between the mentor and mentee. Affinity there. So it is normal for a man to mentor more men. We need these spaces for women to talk to each other, for women to say, for example, like imposter syndrome. I didn't know I had that, but that's what I felt at my first year in tech, right? Especially coming from a non-top 50 school. Accenture usually only recruits from top 50. So coming from a non-top 50 school already, being a woman and then not feeling represented, huge imposter syndrome. And I think that I didn't notice how people would handling imposter syndrome, but it was the event that I went and where they talk, and those spaces where there's no men around for women to talk freely about the problems that they had. It's like our gym locker room type of talk. It's where we talk, where we really let out, and we need that. We need that to say like, oh, this is normal. It's not just me. It's not that I'm dumb. Men are talking over women. And sometimes you have to talk to other women to say, hey, how did you deal with that? How did you deal with men talking over you? There's unconscious bias. They don't notice that they're doing it. And I've said before, hey, I'm talking. Let me finish, And so, so I think these events are important. I hope there is no segregation talk going around, because that would be something that would really personally bother me, because there are so many issues to battle. Men shouldn't be scared to be segregated, and they're more than welcome in these women conferences events. So it's not like only women can attend. Men attend and men do attend, so it's okay. And I think more men should attend, so they understand us, so they vouch for us, so they can sponsor more women, and so they do the right thing, because first is awareness, right? So yeah.
Awesome. Fizza, you have your hand up. Go ahead and jump in.
Yeah, I just want to quickly go off of Sandra's point. I think that was explained really well. But I just want to give an example. I've been a part of Visa's Women in Cybersecurity, and I've attended the conference multiple times. And it is a women-only conference, right? It is a women-based event, but there are men who are there as well. as allies, and they're in the forms of students, they're in the forms of, you know, industry professionals, or in the forms of mentors. And I think that's okay, and that's completely fine as well, as long as they're not overpowering the actual mission of the actual conference, which is, hey, we're here to support women, we're here to provide them the opportunities that, you know, they probably don't have, or, you know, to just make them aware of the different things that they need to be aware of, and especially in technology. So I think that's completely fine. I've had the opportunity to have men as great mentors. I've had the opportunity to, you know, be in conferences where men were present as students, and I've had great conversations with them, learned so much from them. And I think that learning and that conversation between men and women, that actually helps the industry grow. So I think that's really great. It's just that we just have to be very careful when we are in a women-based conference, that we're making sure that the actual mission and the actual purpose of the conference is not being turned away.
Mm-hmm. Beautifully put. And, you know, Fizza, we'll stay with you. What advice do you have to give women entering the tech field? You've kind of talked through a lot of things that you're already working on, but would you like to share some tips that you have for people coming into the space?
Yeah, definitely. I think I just think that anyone who's entering in the tech field, and especially my women, just be very open to learning, and be very open to exploring, and just investigating different things. I feel like when we come in the industry, especially technology, because it's so big, we kind of cage ourselves in a box. And that's kind of what I did, right? We have like a checklist. These are the courses we're going to take, and this is the job I'm going to do, and this is what I'm going to great. But we fail to understand that technology is so big, and there's so many new things coming out all the time. And if we're just going to cage ourselves up, we're never going to get the opportunity to learn about those new things that are coming in, and then we're going to be left behind. So just be open to learning about those new things, you know, just be curious, challenge yourself. So that's something that I would definitely recommend. Number two, I would say, ask a lot of questions. There is no such thing as a stupid question. I have to tell myself that multiple times every single day. You know, sometimes as women, we get quiet. We don't ask the question, even though, you know, we really are curious about something, because we believe it's stupid, or it's just doesn't make sense, or something like that. And that's okay. There is no such thing as a stupid question. Just ask it, because the more questions you ask, and the more questions that you get answered, the more learning you're getting. And that's the end goal in the end. And then last but not least, I would say, make sure that your perspectives and your opinions are being heard. Voice them. Okay. It's okay if those perspectives or those opinions are not accurate. That's completely fine. As long as you're part of that conversation that's happening in tech, it's okay, because once you're part of that conversation, you're going to be learning about new perspectives, you're going to be learning about new things, and that will help you change, that will help you grow, that will help you build. So just instead of being quiet and kind of observing all of the different conversations that are happening, kind of step in, voice your opinion, voice your perspective. That really helps. I think that's something that I had to really learn in my college years right now, but that's something that I would just recommend everyone to do. Yeah.
Awesome. You give some incredible pieces of advice. Sandra, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to say, be very confident when you say that you don't know something. I think that it was when I had a project at Google, the first time that I heard people saying, I don't understand what you just said. I don't know. I'm not following. I don't know. But they just said it very confident, in a confident way. And to me, that was very surprising, because I thought I was supposed to know everything. And I think that's part of like the imposter syndrome. So I think as long as you're confident, you say that you're confident that you don't know something, it's always good, and nobody's going to criticize you for that. But always operate from a position of, strength, and, be very sure of yourself, of what you know and what you don't know, so you can ask those questions freely, and so they know that you're interested in learning more.
That's great. And you actually gave a couple good phrases as well. So you don't necessarily have to say, I don't understand, but maybe you say, I'm not following. Can you say that again in a different way so I fully grasp it? You know, there's different ways to say it. And I like that you gave some of those examples. But Tui, jump in.
You know, I have to admit, I always have problem with some imposter syndrome. I always have a lot, let's just say I have a lot of self-doubt issues. And it's like, and as much as I speak confident, you did it, you made it, all that stuff doesn't help, doesn't work for me at all. And what for me really works is for me to focus on my work. If I can just focus, it's like, for an example, if I'm at a conference or at a room, should I ask this question? And I was like, well, I need to deliver, or especially as I rise up through and become management and leader, I need to represent my team. If I do not get this for them, if I don't get this funding, if I don't understand this problem, if I'm not asking the right question, I am not going to be able to support my team. I'm not going to be able to deliver. I'm not going to be able to meet the goal. And because of that, by focusing on that, I don't have to worry about, you know, it's like, I don't have to worry about myself, right? And how I appear. All of a sudden, it's a whole different matter. And let's say it's a game, a whole different game, you know, and ball game and all that stuff. So to me, that's how it works. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But by just focusing on the end goal and who I can help out, that helped me a lot.
That's a great way to reframe it. It takes the pressure off you personally and it reframes it to solving a problem for a team. That's great. So we have a little bit of time left and I want to make sure we get through these last two questions. So Angela, we'll start with you and we'll actually go around alphabetically again. But can you share something that you're immensely proud of?
So I went through this question and it changed a few times. And then finally, I realized I am immensely proud of myself and my personal development. I came to a realization end of 2020, beginning of 2021, that I was allowing my past experiences to be a weight on me. And so as I moved throughout my career and there were certain occurrences or events that happened within a job or something happened, then it would be a trigger and it would affect me so deeply and almost send me spiraling because it was almost like it sent me back to those previous situations. So this past year, I've really worked on forgiving myself and others, as well as granting myself grace as I now move forward, not being so critical of myself, because as we women know, we can be our biggest critic. We are our biggest critic. So I have worked on being more in tune with myself, my passions, and my peace, making sure that my circle is filled with quality, not quantity, because I really can't help others if I'm not in a good place myself.
Incredible. But Tui, do you want to share something you're immensely proud of?
I have to admit, I saw this question just before we had the presentation. So I'm over here thinking to myself, okay, other than my kids and the husband and family, usual thing, you know, I'm not going to play favorites. So all of my old prior teams, it's not that I don't think about you guys. I love you guys all, but this is the most recent one, is that I'm very proud of my team. When I was working at Allstate, it was everybody, we all innovate together, we all think together, we all work together as a team. They count on me as their leader to go in and try to, you know, try to get the funding, try to convince the executives that this is important and why we need to build the solution. And the team themselves like step up to plate. I would challenge them constantly all the time. It's like, why are we doing this? How does this help the business? We're not here to build a toy. We're here to build a company. So, and that's great. Hadoop is wonderful, or TPU or CPU, whatever it is, but how's that going to help the customer, right? So I'm always challenging, and they all step up to the plate. And because of that, we were able to build with Agile, we were able to build like 4 brand new products within a year to launch it and have 3 patents pending. And I mean, like, it's one of these things where I dream of it, they built it, right? And I can't be more proud of them.
I can feel your excitement and huge, huge accomplishments. Thank you. Biza, would you like to go next?
Sure. So I personally believe that, there's a lot of things that I still have to do. I'm really young in my career to actually be. So I feel like there's going to be a lot of other things in the future that I definitely should be more proud of. But currently right now, I think as a first generation college student, not knowing the resources and not even having the right resources to attend college, I think I'm just extremely, extremely proud of myself to be able to be attending this institute and, completing my education with a full ride scholarship, because I did not have the money to come here, and having that scholarship extend to my graduate degree. I think it's an honor for me to be studying here and to be just having the degrees that I'm about to have. And coming from a family, from my parents who are not as educated, to being here with me, who's about to graduate with 2 degrees, I think that's something that not only I'm proud of, but my family is. And that really opens a whole different path for other people in my family, other women in my culture. And I think that's something that I'm proud of. Yeah.
That's incredibly powerful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Sandra, I would love to hear your story too. What's your immensely proud moment? And I know Sandra's at the airport, so we might have lost connection. Are you there, Sandra?
She was muted, but
Oh, are we losing your connection?
It's getting really loud. So with the other panelists. Now, hello.
Are you there, Sandra? I think we might have lost her.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh, now we can.
Okay. It was getting really loud. So I think I'm proud of just following my dreams. I left home when I was 17 years old. I think following my intuition is something that it can be very scary, but it's true when they say that your heart knows all the answers, because it does, and I left home when I was 17, came for the American dream, worked 2 jobs, put myself to school, made it to Accenture Strategy, and I didn't go to a top 20 MBA program. I left my corporate job to build my startup. Everything's going well with that. I mean, it hasn't been easy, but if it was easy, everybody would do it. So I think I'm proud of that. I'm proud of following my dreams and achieving all of the milestones I've had,
Yes, and it sounds like you all have, stories that could fill hours of conversation with your journeys, which is just so incredible. And I hope everyone finds time to connect with our panelists online and follow their journeys. Sandra, while I have you here, I want to ask you one last question. What do you think, as we look towards and maybe put your futurist hat on, where do you think technology is going to be in 5 years? What's on your radar, something we should keep a pulse on?
I think that we're going to see more metaverse coming. I think that Web3 is moving really fast, and a lot of people don't know, but it's moving way faster, and the adoption is even bigger than what just the internet was, because people are no longer I guess people are not too overly critical on that's the future, it's the present right now, taking over and seeing more interaction in the metaverse, because I don't believe that COVID is over, as well as hopefully education having a disruption, because I believe that one of the industries that hasn't been disrupted yet is education, and that's why I'm very interested in doing something different there. That's why we're doing Papaya, but that's what I
Sandra, I think we're losing you, but thank you so much for sharing that. It sounds like that metaverse is really going to be big, not just in the social space, but in the education space as well. Fiz, I want to ask you that same question. Where are you looking down 5 years from now? What's What's on the pulse of technology for you?
Definitely. I think one of the things that I'm seeing the most just work on right now, just looking at the news and just talking to my peers and everything, I think mixed and augmented reality is really going to be going up from here, and a lot of changes in AI generally. And I think this is really going to be a good change for the medical industry and the education industry, and how it's going to be affecting a lot of different things. But one thing I do know is that with any of these emerging technologies that will be happening in 5 to 10 years, there's going to be pros and cons for each of these technologies. And I think the real challenge as an individual living in this society would be how to adapt to these, and two, how to really work on the positive sides of these technologies and find solutions for them, for those negative aspects for it. So I'm actually really excited to kind of take up on that challenge and see how that works. Yeah.
That's awesome. Julie, what do you think? What's on your radar for the next 5 years?
I see, we're just starting to do 5G. There's already development of 6G in the Asia area with a lot of the large telecommunication companies. Google's coming out with a TPU for artificial intelligence. And I know that at first I'm like, okay, it's just Google, but then NVIDIA kind of jumped into the bandwagon too as well. So when you get more faster processing power, and then you get into the nanotechnology where things are getting smaller, and with the IoT where everything is like everywhere, right? Smart home, smart cars, mobility, everything. So what I'm thinking is that AI, just like with the web, remember how when the web first came out, you have to have a lot of money funding, you have to have big corporation, you have to have a webmaster, which costs a lot of money. That is not going to become a commodity. It's going to be really easy, more simple. It's going to become ubiquitous. AI is going to be everywhere. And not just everywhere in terms of homes and the devices. I'm talking about everywhere, right? And it's going to impact every aspect of our society. It's going to change the way we work. We've already seen it during the pandemic. There was a funny joke, and it's really not a joke. They say what causes the digital transformation, right? And it's not the CIO and CTO, it's actually the pandemic, because a lot of customers who are afraid of technology are now embracing it because they have to. And with that, there's going to be a lot of automations within the AI, that things that we take that are so hard for us now, we can take for granted 5 years from now. And a lot of that with augmented reality and being able to generate things without even having to conceptually, without actually have to build it first, for an example, conferencing, maybe 3D instead of just video. Those are the type of things that's going to become normal. Not to mention autonomous driving.
Yes. Yeah, I like the idea of 3D conferencing. Maybe we all have 3D meeting rooms in our homes.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Angela, what about you? What do you see on the radar for the next 3 to 5 years?
It's actually in harmony with the ladies. It's funny, when I first was looking at this question, I started thinking like, oh my goodness, I can't even imagine what technology will be like in 5 years. If you think about the extensive advancement that we've had with artificial intelligence and computing just within the past few years. And so I do think about the augmented reality, robotics. I even thought about how Jetsons, dating myself, but they had the flying cars. I wonder how long is it going to be before there's a car that you can get up and there's actually, just like now, there's bike lanes, there's actually lanes above us for the cars to drive.
There is already a flying car, by the way.
Oh, okay. So I think about that as we speak about the future of technology in 5 years. I personally believe we have no idea of what this world would be like in 5 years, because there are people, and I think about in the various networks I'm in, of so many people took advantage of being laid off during COVID, or just realized they were unhappy with their job and quit, pivoting and learning technology in various areas. So now we have these people with these free and creative minds that have been unlocked. So when I think of technology in 5 years, I think though that I just hope that there is a diversity of women included at the table in those design conversations, those decision-making meetings, and that they're not just behind the computer doing the work. Because then that way we'll have women from various backgrounds and life experiences that will devote the diversity, or contribute, to the diversity and inclusion within the technologies that are being created, and enhance enhanced. And then that will also allow the world to be more inclusive for all of us instead of select individuals.
What an incredible way to bring that question home, talking about women being the leaders at the helm of that change. I love that. Well, thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. We've covered so many questions today. And again, this is being recorded so people can reference back. Feel free to put your LinkedIn into the chat. And Erica, I will hand it back to you.
Thank you, Kim. Thanks, everyone. I'm so excited just to be able to partner with you women and just to hear from you and to be in this partnership and collaborative process. And also for those who have chimed in today and those our guests and our colleagues from across a wide variety of organizations. If you want to learn more about some of the programs that we have at the College of Computing, we are moving into the esports space. We're working on artificial intelligence and AI and RV and virtual reality. And so we have a wonderful amount of things coming down the pipeline, even when we talk about immersive technologies. So feel free to reach out to me, and our panelists are adding their LinkedIn tags into the chat, so you can also reach out to them as well. If you have any questions, anything, I don't see any questions in the chat, but we have about 2 minutes. If you have a question, just throw it in there now. But if not, please make sure that you look into the chat and you grab the LinkedIn information and follow up with me if you have any other needs. I would love to talk with you. Thank you so much. And we're going to end. All right. Great job, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thanks to all the things in the chat. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.